Where does the term Lucifer come from? Now, the term word for Lucifer has its origin in Latin, and it's broken into two parts. The first half, which is lux, right? In Latin, lux means light, and the second half is fer. So you get Lucifer, fer meaning bearing. This is where you get the meaning of Lucifer, and the translation meaning light bringer, or light bringing morning star. Because what Lucifer was also called as and associated with was with the planet Venus. This is because, as stated in previous videos on Lucifer, Venus is the brightest star you can see before the sun comes out, rising before the sun during sunrise. The word Lucifer inherently wasn't ever associated with anything bad, and especially nothing to do with Satan at all. In fact, Lucifer meant the opposite. As I've just shown you with the etymology of the word, it means something light, okay? Lucifer is the one that gives enlightenment. And the reason Lucifer has, in modern times be associated with Satan is because of mistranslations in the Bible. One of the most misleading mistranslations in the Bible comes from Isaiah chapter 14 verse 12, which states, "How are you fallen from heaven, O shining one, son of dawn?" Which later in the King James Version was translated with "O shining one" being Lucifer. So here it says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" Now, with Lucifer meaning the light bringer in mind, this doesn't really fit with the concept of Satan, right? With Satan being evil, dark, and all these different, connotations of evil. Because in terms of Hebrew translation of that phrase, shining one, son of dawn, is said as Hillel ben Shahar. The key word in the phrase here is Hillel, which means glorified one that is praised upon, keeping in mind that Venus is Lucifer. And Hillel meaning glorified one makes total sense. Venus, the planet that rises before the sun. And more interestingly, when we look at the Hebrew, of Hillel, we find He, Yod, Lamed, Lamed, which if you observe in reverse spells Lamed, Yod, Lamed, He, Lalai, which means night. Many people correctly identify Jesus Christ being one and the same with Lucifer. However, with the notion that Lucifer is already bad. But we already have established that Lucifer is the light. Okay, so in Revelation chapter 22 verse 16, "I am the root and the offspring of David, the bright and morning star." The history of Lucifer comes from a Latin priest named Saint Jerome, who translated the Vulgate Bible, which contained the word and mistranslation of the word Lucifer. He existed during the 4th and 5th century. Jerome finished the translations of the Bible in approximately 405 AD, and where the problems came in is that instead of using the popular Greek version of the Hebrew Bible, he used the Hebrew Bible to translate from, which concerned the passage of Isaiah. Isaiah was most likely speaking of the Shining One as an ironic insult to the king of Babylon, who boasted his great powers, but as Isaiah taunts him, the king's power will be useless to prevent death. The verse, therefore, ultimately wasn't directed to any angelic beings' disobedience or rebellion against God, who then banished him from heaven to earth. It was more directed to a fallen Babylonian king. It is said Saint Jerome had a political disputation with a saint named Saint Lucifer of Cagliari, which is located in Sardinia, Italy. More specifically, the disputation was between Lucifer's followers and Saint Jerome, which Saint Jerome addresses them as Luciferians, and he writes this in his book called The Altercation of an Luciferian and an Orthodox. Another name for it was Dialogue Against the Luciferians, in which he mocked Lucifer and his followers. In a passage, it reads, "It happened not long ago that a follower of Lucifer had a dispute with a son of the church. His loquacity was odious, and the language he employed most abusive, for he declared that the world belonged to the devil, and as is commonly said by them at present day, that the church was turned into a brothel. His opponent, on the other hand, with reason indeed, but without due regard to time and place, urged that Christ did not die in vain, and that it was for something more than a Sardinian cloak of skins that the Son of God came down from heaven." Now, with that being said, I want to also say that this most likely contained bias in his writing. It could have been because of this that the translation was put as Lucifer into Isaiah 14:12 in a way to sort of slander Lucifer and his followers. Thank you for watching the video and making it all the way to the end of the video. The support is very much appreciated. I hope now you guys can at least grasp the concept of Lucifer and also my thinking on this topic. And to make it easier, I've created a playlist on Lucifer. Make sure to like, subscribe and share if you're new. Till next time guys, peace.